It was a quiet Saturday morning, the kind where the world felt like it moved in slow motion. The city's pulse was just beginning to pick up, but for Joe Carter, life had already been in motion for hours. Joe was a single father, a man in his early 40s whose life revolved around two things: his teenage son and his small, modest auto repair shop, Joe's Auto Garage. Joe wasn't the kind of man who sought attention. His shop wasn't flashy, no neon signs, no slick advertisements. Just an old, hand-painted board hanging above the rusted shutters. Yet, the place had soul. Every dented toolbox, every grease-stained rag told a story of hard work, of a man who fixed things not just for a living, but because he believed everything, and everyone, deserved a second chance. That morning, Joe was under a car, fighting a stubborn bolt, when he heard it, a soft, muffled sniffle. He slid out from beneath the vehicle and spotted a small figure at the edge of his garage. A little girl, maybe 8 or 9, standing next to a pink bicycle. The chain hung loosely off the gears, and her tiny hands were smeared with grease. Tears traced down her cheeks, though she was trying her best to look brave. Joe wiped his hands on a rag and approached slowly. "Hey there, champ. Looks like you've got a rebellious bike on your hands." The girl looked up, startled, but his warm smile quickly put her at ease. She sniffled and said, "It broke, and Mommy's busy. She said to wait, but I wanted to fix it myself." Joe crouched down to meet her gaze. "What's your name, kiddo?" "Lily," she replied softly. "Well, Lily, I think today's a perfect day to learn how to fix a bike chain. What do you say?" Lily's face lit up with cautious excitement. Joe didn't just fix her bike. No. He knelt beside her, showing her how the chain needed to loop over the gears, how to gently tug and guide it back in place. He explained each step patiently, never once making her feel small or incapable. Lily was no longer a child with a broken bike, she was an apprentice, a problem solver, a mechanic in training. What Joe didn't know was that just across the street, high up in a towering glass building, Rebecca Lane, CEO of Skytech Innovations, was watching everything unfold. Rebecca Lane was not a woman easily impressed. At 38, she was the youngest female CEO of a billion-dollar tech company. Her days were a whirlwind of board meetings, investor calls, and strategic battles. Yet, none of that compared to the quiet, aching guilt she carried, being a mother who was always too busy. That morning had been particularly chaotic. She had promised Lily they'd go for a walk before her meetings. But work had a way of consuming promises. As she glanced out of her corner office window between calls, she spotted her daughter across the street, struggling with her bike. Panic rose in her chest. Should she call security? Rush down herself? But then she noticed him. A man in a simple work shirt, with oil-stained hands and a gentle smile, kneeling beside Lily. Rebecca watched, transfixed, as Joe patiently taught her daughter how to fix the chain. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't brushing her off. He didn't know who Lily was. And yet, he treated her with kindness that money couldn't buy. Rebecca felt something stir inside her. In her world of corporate negotiations and high-stakes decisions, genuine human kindness had become rare, almost foreign. Watching Joe, she realized how much she had been missing the simpler, more human connections. Back at the garage, Lily was now proudly spinning the bike pedals, watching the chain stay in place. "See? Told you, Lily, you've got the magic touch," Joe said with a chuckle. Lily beamed. "Thank you, Mr. Joe. You don't owe me anything, kiddo. Just promise me you'll teach someone else one day, all right? That's how we keep the world spinning." Little did Joe know, someone had been watching, and that promise would soon come full circle. As Lily pedaled off, Joe returned to his work, unaware that Rebecca Lane had already decided, this man was about to have his life turned upside down. On Monday morning, Joe's day began like any other. He was elbow-deep in an engine when a sleek black SUV pulled up in front of his modest garage. Out stepped a woman dressed in a sharp, tailored suit, her heels clicking against the pavement with purpose. "Mr. Carter?" she asked. Joe looked up, wiping sweat from his brow. "That's me. What can I do for you?" "I'm Rebecca Lane, CEO of Skytech Innovations," she said, extending her hand. "I believe you met my daughter, Lily, on Saturday." Joe's eyes widened. "Oh, the bike kid? She's a smart one. Hope she didn't wander off again." Rebecca smiled. "Actually, I owe you a thank you. You didn't know who she was, yet you took the time to teach her. You didn't fix her problem. You empowered her to fix it herself. That's rare." Joe shrugged modestly. "Well, I believe if you give people the tools and the patience, they'll surprise you." "That's exactly why I'm here," Rebecca said. "I'm launching a community initiative at Skytech, hands-on workshops teaching kids practical skills, problem-solving, real-world learning. I need someone who can lead with heart. Someone like you." Joe laughed nervously. "Ma'am, I'm just a mechanic." Rebecca's eyes softened. "Exactly. That's what makes you perfect." Weeks later, Joe stood inside a high-tech workshop at Skytech headquarters, now transformed into a vibrant learning space. Children from all walks of life filled the room, eyes wide with curiosity. And at the front of the room stood Joe, his hands no longer stained with grease, but filled with purpose. He taught them the basics of mechanics, but more importantly, he taught them patience, resilience, and the joy of fixing something with your own hands. Lily was there too, his unofficial assistant, proudly showing other kids how to fix a bike chain, just as Joe had taught her. Rebecca often watched from the back, smiling. She realized that sometimes, the greatest leadership isn't about boardrooms or billion-dollar deals, it's about fostering human connections, about teaching people to believe in themselves. For Joe, it wasn't just a new job. It was a new mission. His small act of kindness had grown into something far bigger than he ever imagined. Months turned into a year. Joe's workshops expanded to community centers, schools, even online classes. Skytech's Hands-on Humanity program became a national success story, celebrated not for its corporate backing, but for its grassroots, human-first approach. Joe never sought fame, but his story inspired many. News outlets featured him, not as a corporate hero, but as a symbol of how ordinary people can create extraordinary change. And Rebecca? She found a renewed sense of balance in her life. Her bond with Lily strengthened, and she made it a point to spend time in Joe's workshops, not as a CEO, but as a mother and a learner. The simple act of teaching a child to fix her bike had rippled into countless lives being touched, empowered, and transformed. One evening, as Joe was locking up the workshop, Lily approached him with a handmade card. Inside, it read, "Thank you, Mr. Joe, for teaching me to fix my bike. But most of all, thank you for fixing my mommy's heart." Joe felt a lump in his throat. In that moment, he realized it was never about bikes, bolts, or chains. It was about people. About kindness. About showing up for others, even when no one's watching. Because the smallest, most unnoticed gestures often carry the power to change lives in ways we never expect. The story reminds us that every act of kindness matters, no matter how small it may seem. You never know who's watching, who's in need, or how your compassion could open doors you never imagined. It's not about grand gestures, but about being present, human, and kind in the everyday moments.